We strive to provide students with opportunities to explore ideas that aren't necessarily covered in traditional academic settings. All of our themes revolve around the common idea about self-expression and about discovering different dimensions of yourself.
Good afternoon, Amy, Ethan, and Rita.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lynch.
It's such a pleasure to be able to talk with you for a few minutes this afternoon and to share some of your insights into the important role that student voice plays in the life of the CIS community. Before we talk about the subject itself, would you mind if I just ask, how have you been during this period?
I've surprisingly been quite well. I've found new passions that I've had. I've gotten into more poetry recently. And I think that the most important lesson that I've learned so far is that I've started noticing the beauty in seemingly mundane events or objects that I'm constantly surrounded by that I wouldn't have had the time or patience to discover without this period.
I've actually been doing pretty good. It can be stressful with in year 12, but I think the teachers have done a really good job to try and alleviate that stress. And during this time in quarantine, I really had the time to think about and try to understand more about the world around me. And without this situation, this pandemic, people seem to have forgotten that our world is still full of all of this blind hate. But on the flip side, we kind of recognize the true heroes of our society, which is the essential workers. And we also realize that we should be grateful for them.
I've been doing all right as well, I guess. And I discovered that the lack of human connection between myself and my peers is definitely an aspect that's affected me. But on the other hand, I feel like I'm more able to get closer to my family because having extra time at home. There's always pros and cons to every situation. It's just a matter of how you look at it. And I believe after this whole pandemic, we as a civilization, as a race, will definitely come out stronger than before with newfound knowledge.
How did each of you become involved in the first place with the different student publications of which you're currently members?
So I think I've always had an interest for art, or especially in photography. I post some of it on Instagram, but I've never actually sent any of my work to any student publication at school. And I guess that concept just used to scare me. But I've come to realize that everyone should be proud of the work and the effort they put into it, because I think everyone is just so talented, and any amount of work they've done, someone is going to appreciate it.
For me, I actually started Muse magazine back in Hangzhou last year. One of the main reasons why I had started it was because of actually three reasons. The first reason was because at the beginning of the year, I noticed that most students had this flawed perception of writing because they thought that writing was all about trying to shove words into your 2,000-word essay. But instead, I wanted to show how there are other dimensions to writing and how we can use it as a creative tool as a means of catharsis or expressing ourselves. Another reason was because I noticed just the sheer amount of talent that our students hold, and I just thought that they needed a platform to showcase the student artistry and to highlight the individual voices that ultimately build our community onwards.
I first got involved with Xiaohua in year 11 after coming back from Hangzhou. I wanted to be a part of Xiaohua because I wanted to be a part of something that different groups and communities in CIS came together and unified and collaborated on. And I think the idea of being able to say something and have it published in a magazine and spread to not only the students, but the faculty and parents as well is something that I definitely value. And I think it's also really fun to work on a publication or be a part of it.
One factor that distinguishes Muse from the rest of the publications is because since we started from Hangzhou, we also strive to create a bridge between Hangzhou CIS and back at the Hong Kong campus. We actually have a team based in Hangzhou that also works on our magazine, so that students from both Hangzhou and in Hong Kong are able to explore this common passion through Muse.
So Scribbles is a school-wide creative arts publication that shows a wide array of creative talents. I think that we aim to inspire CIS students to create art that will eventually be published and distributed to the school.
I believe why Xiaohua was started in the first place is because there was not a central platform or outlet for student voice. The student voice that we aim to showcase in our magazine is more non-fictional and based on real-world events.
I can only imagine that putting out publication like Muse or Xiaohua or Scribbles takes an enormous amount of work and is incredibly complex. Tell us more about your process.
How the whole process begins first is the election of a new editorial board. And on the editorial board, there are different positions, such as the department head for English features or the department head for English news. And each of these members manage their own department.
Everyone has the opportunity to work with our editorial board. So people who submit, we go through draft 1, draft 2, and then we edit it and provide feedback. And we sort of just interact with students and help them work towards their final product.
So I had started Muse Magazine with a group of 5 students. We had students ranging from those who were interested in formatting pages, some who were interested in photography, some who were interested in writing, so that we had a mix and match of students from different passions.
Why do you think it's important that CIS has so many student publications and pays so much attention to the expression of student voice in the life of our school?
So firstly, about student voice, it's definitely important for Xiaohua. We do not really restrict students to what articles they must write or pursue. And if anything, we just give them feedback and advice regarding the ideas they have.
How important in your eyes is it that Muse and Xiaohua and Scribbles be bilingual and perhaps even beyond language, really try to grapple with the East-West identity which lies at the heart of Chinese International School?
And I think it's really important to have this bilingualism bilingualist feature for this magazine because after all, we do live in Hong Kong and we are, after all, the Chinese International School. And to not have Chinese, which is such a big part of our lives, but at home, but also in school, would be incomplete for the magazine. The writers we have in our magazine come from all over the world, have all sorts of backgrounds, have all sorts of viewpoints. And to have this mixing pot of cultures and ideas is something that definitely contributes to the successes of Xiaohua.
So specifically for Scribbles, we're trying to incorporate the bilingual aspect into our student publication, and hopefully we can continue to develop that within our school. So we also have a Chinese department head, and we have that for a reason because we want to encourage students to write in Chinese or just read the works written by other people in Chinese.
For Muse Magazine, since we have started from Hangzhou and we have a lot of students who are submitting from Hangzhou, they have more opportunities to be less intimidated by writing Chinese no matter what phase or band they may be in, so that Muse as a magazine can really encourage students to experiment with writing poems or stories that might not be the language that they are most confident in.
We know that every single time we have a chance to look at one of the photographs you've published or an article that you have shared with us or a beautiful painting that you have reproduced in your pages, that we are experiencing something quite unique. We are sharing in the imagination of young people. We are gaining some of the insights that you have into the world in which we're living. And that treasure is something that we hold very dear. We also know that you speak on behalf of many students. You've on multiple occasions said that you are representing teams, and we are so appreciative of your humility and generosity of spirit. Best wishes to you, and best wishes to the CIS community for the week which lies ahead. Thank you.